Heyo, it's OmniDog from OmniDog's Vault. And I've got some under-the-radar gems, underappreciated books. What I really wanted to call this video was books that need more love. But that didn't really sound like it would get many viewers. So I'm calling it underappreciated gems. But it's really books that need more love. These are books that I think are great and that people don't talk about much. And this will be part of a every once in a while series that I highlight. I think I've already done a video like this before. So these are books that I think you'd enjoy that just don't get talked enough about and really need people's support and people's love. You may have heard of all of them. You may have even read them, but you need to tell your friends to read them. And we will start off with Frank Barbieri's Violent Love, books 1 and 2. Now, Taylor Brown and I had him on a crime corner, or no, not crime. I don't think it was a crime corner. I think maybe it was a crime corner. Maybe it was just an interview. But we talked about this book a lot. And now that I think about it, I think it was just an interview because we talked about his other stuff too. But this is a really good crime book. It is by Frank Barbieri with art by Victor Santos. And let me start off with some of the art. And it's very Victor Santos-y. So if you're a fan of his or not, you know what to expect. He's a pretty famous artist, and I think he goes well with this book. This is definitely a crime book. It's about a young woman that wants revenge against the men who killed her father, the man who killed her father, and gets caught up in a cartel war. She's taking on a gang. She has a guy she's working with that will help him. That's kind of bloody. This thing's way bloody and violent. She has a boyfriend that she kind of dumps and is mentored by this other crook. She grows up with a lot of promise, and she gets accepted into a prestigious school, but it turns out her dad is mixed up with some of the wrong people, and she sees him get killed and wants revenge. And there are lots of twists and turns in this book that make it really interesting and really fun. And this is a very well-written crime book. And Frank Barbieri is the one that wrote 5 Ghosts, which is an excellent book. This comes in 2 paperbacks, has a very satisfying ending, exciting middle, and a very good beginning. I highly recommend you guys check out Violent Love. The next one that I don't think gets enough love, you've definitely heard of. It's by a couple of famous people, but not enough people talk about it, I don't think. It could be because it's sporadically published. It could be because I think that's probably the reason. It's on a schedule that Kurt Busiek is by Kurt Busiek, and I think it comes out when he wants it to. And that is, of course, Astro City. And I feel like it comes out in standard hardcover or paperback, and I feel like people are sort of putting it off, waiting for the oversized hardcover or the omnibus to come out. I think that's a mistake. I think you should there are 17 books. I'm not suggesting you go out and buy all 17. I've been buying these things ever since the beginning. I started reading them in floppy form. And it is about life in Astro City with art by Brett Anderson and covers by Alex Ross. And it's got it's one of the most incredible world building books I've ever read. Astro City is incredibly well built. With it's sort of a take on if these superheroes existed in Astro City, what would the populace do about it? How would they be accepted? What would life be like? Sort of like Marvel's, but not quite from the ground up like that. And the heroes Kurt Busiek has invented are incredible and really well-rounded, really nuanced, human with superpowers, humans with superpowers. And they're, this is one of my favorites, Jack in the Box, who can spring around. And so there's 17 books. They're actually all pretty standalone, except for the Dark Ages, which was 2 trades which talked about 2 brothers that took 2 different paths. Now, some of these are hard to find in hardcover, and those of you who want your spines to match will have a real problem, because the ones I have, it started out, I think, as Homage, then went to Wildstorm, then went to Vertigo. Now it's part of DC. So I've got all kinds. I don't know if I've got good examples here. Well, yeah, here's when it was at Wildstorm, the middle book. And you can see, I mean, those are 3 completely different spines. The DC Comics doesn't even match. There's Wildstorm in the middle. DC has been reprinting these. Some of these are, as I said, are out of print. And I mean, look at these covers by Alex Ross. These are just remarkable. But Busiek is Busiek. He's a great writer. And what he, this one is Local Heroes, and this is 9 stories, I think. 9 short stories about life in Astro City for all these various superheroes and their human connections and how they interact with each other. I would suggest you start at the beginning with the first book I showed. I have a huge stack of books, so I don't want to tip them over. That's Life in the Big City. At least get this and read it. So you'll get a feeling of who some of these heroes are. One of my favorites is Shining Stars. And that is because it has 2 of my favorite stories in it. This is Shining Stars. This is the DC cover from a few years ago. So I don't know what it looks like now if they're reprinting it. But the first story is about the Samaritan. He's the Superman-like character, and the infidel, who is the battle between them has been going on for centuries. And this is what and they finally sort of come to a truce where the infidel invites Samaritan to dinner in his suspended in the air castle. He's amassed, an inhuman amount of fortune throughout the years, and they've called a truce. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but the story is much more than that. With an amazing plot, great story, just gripping. You couldn't find out that a dinner could be this interesting except between these 2 and the way Busiek writes it and Anderson illustrates it. And the other book that I like, the other story that's in here that I like so much is the character Beauty, who's modeled after a Barbie doll. And she walks around. I mean, she is a superheroine. Her expression never seems to change. She's a superhero with great powers. but she's basically a doll that is in human form, sort of. She has more in common sometimes with dolls that she sees in the toy store that look like her than she does with the human beings around her. This is an excellent character study, and I love this story. It's got a really excellent ending, and you can see here that she looks, if you can see this really up close, she's the picture of her right here. She's got the parts of a doll. She looks like an action figure put together. She's a great hero, but this is more about what it's like to be her. And the other stories in this are, you know, just as good, with just as great art. And I highly recommend getting into Astro City. Obviously, you can't just go out and buy all 17. I mean, I guess you could, but I would start with the first couple and see if you like it. It is such good world building that I highly recommend it. The other series that doesn't get enough love, it's older now. I think it started in Secret Wars, which was 2015. And it only got a couple of trades. So it's, I'm sure it's super available, but I love it. It's A-Force, and you should start out with the Secret Wars tie-in, which is Warzone. If you recall Secret Wars, if you haven't read Secret Wars yet, you'll be okay. It's the end of Hickman's run, where the Ultimate Earth and Earth 616 come together, and the story starts out where these women, Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, Dazzler, America Chavez, Spider-Woman. It's basically all the Marvel superheroes that are female rule over this island in Warworld, which is called Arcadia. And it is really well written. I love it. This first issue is by Marguerite Bennett and G. Willow Wilson, and features, you know, a whole cast of all your favorite Marvel superheroines, and how they go through life on Warworld. The art is great. This is a little dark. The art is, get out of there, glare. There we go. The art is great. And I really like the writing a lot. And A-Force, this is where Singularity is introduced. I don't know that they've done that much with Singularity's character ever since. This is Singularity right here. And I haven't seen much. Feel free in the comments to tell me if I'm wrong, if she has been featured in more books. I haven't seen her if she has. But after the Warworlds book, then they had two trade paperbacks that were really excellent. I just loved A-Force. I have a special fondness for super powerful women who kick ass. I like the strong female protagonist. This one's by G. Willow Wilson and Kelly Thompson. Those are two really good writers. And, you know, Singularity is featured in here. And this is A-Force back on Earth 616, or whatever the amalgam is now. And it's, you know, they're fighting crime, they're doing their thing, but they're, you know, they're dealing with their human emotions and going through how superheroes deal with their issues. It's very strongly written as to it's built around singularity a lot, and the problems they encounter and how they, solve the problems. There's Medusa in there, and you can see that it's a lot of Marvel's leading ladies in these books. These are just really well written, and I think maybe because it's old now and it only got 12 issues or something, or did it even get 12? 1 through 4. 1 through 4. This has an issue from Secret Wars in it, the first one. 1 through 4, and the second one is 5 through 10. It only got 10 issues. That just bugs me when you get a great book like A-Force and you give it very little love. This is a book that needs more love. I'm sure it's readily available still. You can still buy plenty of... It's still available. If you like the strong female protagonist, then you will like this book, because the art is really fun and the writing is great. And I love this book. It needs more love. I don't want to spoil any of the plot lines, but they're not groundbreaking plot lines. This is cool though. But it's just really fun, and this book needs love. It needs to sell out and be a collector's item, and you guys are all excited about it. So that's what, those are my thoughts on that. The next books, these were suggested to me by my fellow Omnibro Gabe, who had been talking about Gotham Academy forever. And he was right. These books are awesome. These are by DC. These were New 52 books. They're written by a team, Becky Cloonan and Brendan Fletcher. Becky Cloonan's great. And Gotham Academy is like an elite prep school in Gotham City. Bruce Wayne sits on the board, but you don't really see Batman in this much at all. And there's lots of things that are going on in this book. The central character is Olive Silverlock, and she has kind of not a secret, but she's got a past because her mom is in Arkham Asylum, and the story goes on from there, but there's lots of things that happen to her and all her friends at Gotham Academy. Secret passageways. It's basically a really, really well-written type of Scooby-Doo. I don't want to say it's like Scooby-Doo kid stuff, but it's just really well-written fun. They discover secret passageways, and there's chicanery among the faculty. There are ghosts and secrets to be discovered in the graveyard. And Olive has a friend named Maps, and anytime you have a friend named Maps that can read maps and tell you how to navigate things, that's awesome. And there are 3 volumes that you need to read. At least give the first 3 volumes a chance. Volume 2 is called Calamity. And so here's some more of the art. So this is not superhero stuff. It is more of a crime mystery thriller, whodunit type of what's going on here at Gotham Academy and who's behind all this. And the girls and guys at Gotham Academy, the students, are really well done. Really, really fleshed out and interesting. So I highly recommend you guys read Gotham Academy. Don't wait for any kind of hardcover edition from DC. That's just not going to happen because it's DC. So there's 3 of the first year. And then the second year has 2 books. called Second Semester. Now, the first 3 books can be just read and you can be done with it. If you want to go on and find out exactly what's going on with Olive, this is a continuation mostly of Olive's story, and because she has several things going on in the original series that need to be wrapped up, sort of, and they're wrapped up in this. This one's written by Brendan Fletcher, Becky Cloonan, and Carl Kerschel, and the art is great. There's a crossover that I haven't read yet, but I have, Gotham Academy and Lumberjanes. So it's sort of in that vein of Lumberjanes, where it's young kids taking on the supernatural and discovering themselves in the process. That kind of thing. But it is super fun. Second Semester is merely excellent, whereas the first 3 books are fantastic. So at least get the first 3 books, and Second Semester should be read too, though, I think. I love Gotham Academy. The next one I know I've reviewed at least once or twice. It's remarkable because the guy not only wrote it, but he drew it. And the art, I'm going to spend a lot of time on the art because it is out of this world. It's called Dead Rider. And it's about a rotting corpse, dead cowboy who's after the bog witch who has cursed his soul. So it's like a ghoulish western where he's out for revenge. Let me just find really good examples of some of this art that he does, because I mean, it is just incredible. Here's some of the art. I have not mastered the art of getting glare off the page. There we go. But it's art that's just as amazing as you will find. And it is a fantastically interesting supernatural story of the Dead Rider. This is put out by Dark Horse, and it's called Crown of Souls. Let's see where some more really good art is to show you. So, and it's lettered really well too, which makes a difference in a book like this, as you can see. And look at that. So this is one of my favorite all-time books, and I highly recommend it. Dead Rider. Kev Ferrara is the one who created this, and hats off to that guy. He is remarkably talented, and I haven't done a search on him. I haven't read anything else about him. I want to know more about the stuff that he's written and drawn. He should be a big, 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 big name. This art alone should make him a top creator, but the story's great too, and to be that talented does not happen very often. So Dead Rider from Dark Horse. And no, we're not coming close to the end. Tom Taylor. Has he written a bad book? If he has, I don't know what it is. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I don't know why I don't hear more about this. These are recent. This is the 14-issue run in 2 trades. Would make a beautiful hardcover. Tom Taylor wrote it. And let's see who the artist is. This is trade paperback 1. Okay, it's got several different artists, but Tom Taylor's the writer. And It tells the story of what it would be like to live in Spider-Man's neighborhood. How would you feel living in New York City with Spider-Man as your neighbor? What kind of neighbor is he? Are there villains showing up? Are there a bunch of buildings being demolished as like the Rhino comes for his Girl Scout cookies, or what? What happens? It is, simply put, fantastic. And Kingpin's the mayor in this book. So I think it's from 2019, so it's pretty recent. But I love this book because because every single one of the characters is incredibly interesting, and he gets introduced to all kinds of interesting influences, like this woman right here. She turns out to be a major part of the book. And I don't want to spoil why she is a major part of this book, but she shows up in the neighborhood, and all kinds of fun and interesting things happen in Spider-Man's neighborhood. So well written. Tom Taylor is so talented and writes such a great book. You really, really need to get Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Don't wait for the hardcover. There already should have been a hardcover. Just go get the trades, or if you want to wait for it on hardcover, then read it digitally, because you need to read this right now. It's that good. I mean, stop what you're doing and read it right now. And then get the oversized hardcover because you think I have some type of influence, and because I've bought the trades, that means it's going to be an oversized hardcover because the universe works against me in that way. So don't delay. Read it today. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. That's the second to last book. And the last book that needs more love is a book that's been around for a long time and was really popular when it first came out. It got a hardcover from Image, and the writer, who has said many times the hardcover just did not sell well enough for more hardcovers. So it's one hardcover and 3 trades. It's so great. It is Peter Panzerfaust, and it is the story of Peter Pan set, this is a generalization, but it's a story of Peter Pan set in World War II, where they're in France, there's an underground resistance, and Peter helps lead a cell of lost boys to help sabotage and wreck Germany's hold on France during the early part of the war. This is all told in flashbacks from a guy interviewing some of the lost boys as they're older, like right now he's interviewing them. There is a Wendy Darling in it. Here she is. And there's Peter with Wendy right there with the hair. And there's some of the lost boys in the tree right there. Super well written, super adventurous and fun. And of course, the major villain is a German officer who has a hook for a hand. And it's got 3 more trades. Oh, I lied. I have another book after this. It's got 3 more trades, and they are all excellent. This book needs your love. That's a song I should write. This book needs your love. Okay. And it's got twists and turns and stuff you wouldn't expect at all. It's a riveting read, really, really fun. It's got something in the original Peter Pan, there was a alligator that swallowed a clock, and so he went tick-tock and always was after Hook, and Hook in this book has something that is always coming after him that says tick-tock. So it's a really cool love letter to Peter Pan. set in World War II, and this book needs your support. Definitely get it. Get the hardcover just because the hardcover is cool, and then get the 3 trades. I just recently finished it. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I've had these forever. It sold really well. The first issue, I think, was very expensive for a while on eBay, and I don't know what happened to it. Help a guy out here. Help the writer out. Help me out. Help yourself out. Read Peter Panzerfaust. And then the last book I know I've done a review on, but I don't really hear much about it, probably because the 5th paperback, it's 6 trades, and the 5th one is impossible to find. So you'll have to read it digitally, but it is worth it. This was recommended to me by the famous Peter M., also known as Crushing Crisis. And that book is Suicide Risk. There's 6 trades. I would not sweat it that you can't find 5. Just read it digitally and love it, because it is well worth your love. It's by Mike Carey, another great writer that has written tons of great stuff. It's about a world where all of a sudden these villains show up with superpowers, and they're kicking the asses of all these cops, and taking their lives. And this one cop named Leo, a young idealistic cop, decides he wants superpowers too to fight this crime. So he goes out, he finds how to get the superpowers. But you don't know what superpowers you're gonna get when you do the method that you have to do to get superpowers. It's like sold out of a back alley by these 2 shady characters, and you don't know what your superpowers are going to be. And it also, when he takes the drug that unlocks his superpower, it also unlocks a secret identity that's been sort of suppressed in him, called Requiem. And Requiem is, there's 2 stories going on here at the same time. There's the story on Earth with Leo as a cop trying to battle these supervillains, and then Requiem, who all of a sudden emerges from Leo's personality, is a centuries-old warrior from another dimension. And then the rest of the book deals with Leo's war against crime, and Requiem's war that is waiting for him to return in the extra dimension. I don't want to spoil it, but it's sort of a battle of wills between them. There are 6 books. The parts of Requiem reminded me a lot of parts of Irredeemable, where you're getting surprised by the twists when they're out in the cosmos. And Irredeemable was always one surprising twist after another, and that's sort of the way Suicide Risk is too, especially when he is Requiem. Requiem was a hero to many, and he needs to return to a war. How does he go about it? And how he goes about it, and what risks he takes, and who he needs to find to help him. And then what happens when Leo gets back to Earth, and how he deals with, how Requiem deals with Leo's family, because at a certain point, Requiem takes over completely Leo's personality. The battles in the extra dimension, the battles on Earth. This is another one of my favorite books, and it needs love and needs to be read. That is Suicide Risk. And as I say, it just needs to be read. don't go killing yourself because you can't find volume 5. I shouldn't have said killing yourself. I apologize. Don't go tearing your hair out because you can't find volume 5. Just read it digitally and just let it wash over you. Just enjoy a great comic, brilliantly written and illustrated. So those are my books that need more love, but the title's going to be under the radar gems or something. These need your love. Please read them. They have the Omnidog seal of approval. Peace and love. Peace and love. Thank you for watching.